The assessment I chose was the Fluency Words Per Minute assessment, and the developmental level for this assessment all depends on what grade you are teaching and what grade the students are in that are taking this assessment. Students in grades 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 can all take this assessment, and they will be given different passages based on their developmental level at that time. The purpose of this assessment is to measure a student's reading rate per minute to measure their fluency. It's used so we can see the number of words within that minute that they can read correctly and incorrectly to find their reading rate. So, for example, this would be a passage for first grade. This word count is 86 words in this passage, and this is what theirs would look like. So, the teacher's looks a little different, as you can tell. The procedures for this assessment is to first give the students this passage. And you have to keep in mind that this passage should be something that they have seen for the first time. It should be unpracticed and something completely brand new when they first see it. The second step is to tell them that they have a minute to read this aloud whenever you say the word start. Tell them if they come across a word they don't know, they can ask for help, and then, of course, as a teacher, we would mark that incorrect. We have to tell them that we want them to do their best reading, and you ask them before you start the assessment if there's any questions that they have. And then if they have questions, you're going to answer it. If they don't, you will say start, and the student will begin reading from this passage, while the teacher will follow along on her passage. And on her passage, she's going to mark the words that are said incorrectly. So she can either let them blank or she can write above them what the student says instead of the word. Now, if we have a student that struggles or stops for 3 seconds or more, as the teacher, we want to come in and tell them the word and mark that incorrect. So the materials that are going to be needed for this, obviously, the passage for the teacher and the passage for the student. We will also need this fluency tracking sheet. And then this is the table with the norms in it. So the teacher's passage is going to have this box at the bottom. And this box at the bottom is going to say words per minute, errors, word count per minute, and then your accuracy / your reading rate percentage. So as a teacher, we will fill out how many words were in the passage. For example, my passage has 86 words, the number of errors the student had, the word count per minute, which is how we will calculate it, which will come out to be the accuracy or the reading rate percentage. So the way that we do this is by taking the total number of words per passage and the total number of errors per passage that the student have. And we're going to subtract the number of errors read per minute from the total number of words read per minute. And this will result in the average number of words count per minute, which we call as the WCPM. That is what we are going to take and put on this data tracking sheet. So when you have a student, you want to write the date of their assessment in this dark gray box, and then we're going to write the number of words that they read per minute in this white box. The number of words read per minute is then going to be graphed onto this graph with a little dot. And this test is going to be given multiple times throughout the year to see the improvement of fluency within your students. So when you have a student take an assessment for the second time, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to write the date of the assessment, the number of words per minute that they read correctly, and we're going to mark it on our graph. And then by the end of the year, we should be able to see a line increasing. That's what we hope to see. We hope to see an increasing line go up our graph, and that will prove and show how our fluency is improving throughout the year with our students. And we can increase the difficulty of our passages based off of our students that we have. So this is an 86 word count passage again for a first grade class. Depending on what class you're in or what developmental level your students are in will depend on what level of passage you give them. So then we can go to our norms here. This is our data table with the norms. And we can calculate based off of our reading percentage, our accurate reading rate percentage. We can match that up to our grade level and what percentile the student will fall in. Then, from there, this chart will give you a predictor of what the students' word count per minute should be in the wintertime and what it should be by the springtime. It also gives you how many words the students should be weekly improving on, so that's a good thing, leading us into what we can do in the classroom to help these students improve weekly on their words and their fluency. So an idea I had, we could provide the students with text that they are able to read and reread. So if students are reading and rereading, they're understanding the fluency of it. They can read it with great fluency. And we can also provide them with a range of text for that. So we can have informational text, picture books that they can read, all that type of stuff that helps them get different, types of text and the fluency with it. We can also introduce new or difficult words for children for them to practice. So if we know that students are struggling on certain words, we can introduce words, related to it, that same word that they can practice on, and then they'll have better fluency. So when they get to a passage, and I know this is the first time they're reading a passage when they're taking this assessment, they can say, oh, I know that word, we just practiced that. And then the third thing I had was to allow time for students to hear a range of different texts that are read fluently and with expression. So as a teacher, we can read with fluency and with expression. That gives our students examples. We're being good models for them on what they should be reading and what they should be doing when they're reading. So overall, I think this is a really good test, a quick test to figure out your reading fluency of your students at this developmental level. So it's only a minute long, and it's a great way to find out what students are struggling with fluency and what students are, getting the hang of it.